Let's talk about average, average if, and average ifs, AVERAGEIFS in Google Sheets. Let's start with the average function. So if we type equals average and then open up our parentheses, we can see here that it's going to take one required argument, and then we can put in multiple optional arguments if we choose. So one way to do it would be in our sample data here. Let's take the average of that cell, comma, that cell, comma, that cell, close our parentheses and press enter, and we get a 2. Average of 1, 2, and 3. That is what we would expect to see. But an easier way to do it, if we double click this to open our formula back up, this first required argument can be a range. You can see that in the example here. So an easier way would just be to click that first cell, drag down, highlight the entire range, press enter, and then we get our 2. Average if is pretty similar, except it's going to let us run each cell against some criterion and then only take the average of the ones that pass the criterion or returns true. The criterion returns true for that cell. So for example, let's say we have, let's say we don't know that these are in order, so we have a whole range of cells here, and we want to know the average of the numbers, but only if they are less than or equal to 2. So basically, we're just going to exclude this 3 in our example data here, and we should expect to see 1.5. So we can type equals average if, open up our parentheses, and if we look at this documentation, we can see that the first argument it is expecting is a criteria range. We are checking these 3 cells to see if they are less than or equal to 2. So that's going to be our criteria range, comma, criterion. Criterion is going to go in quotes, so double quotes. And we want to know if it is, or we want to check if it is less than or equal to 2. Close the double quotes. Now this average range here is an optional argument. You can tell because it has the brackets around it. And basically, if we were checking a different range of cells against the criteria, then the range that we wanted the average for, we could put in something else here. That is not the case for what we are doing. We are checking this range of cells against the criterion, and that is also the range of cells that we want the average for, so we don't have to put anything in here. So I'm just going to close the parentheses, press enter, and there's our 1.5. So even though we fed it this entire range of cells, it's only looking at the first 2 because those are the only 2 that are less than or equal to 2. I'm going to change up this sample data for this third example here. So actually, I'm going to eliminate the 0. So we'll just go 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right, so we have 5 values here now. We have -2, -1, 1, 2, and 3. Man, let's give it 4 and 5 actually as well. Okay. So for this one, average ifs is going to be very similar to average if, except that it's going to allow us to check the cells against multiple criterion. So for example, let's say we want to get the average of all these numbers, excluding the negative numbers and only including numbers that are less than or equal to 3. So we're basically going to try to just get these 3 cells here, and we should expect to see a 2. To do that, we will type average equals average IFS, open up our parentheses. Now this is the average range. The first argument is required argument, and it is the average range. In other words, the range that you want to get the average for. And again, these are all conveniently in order, but if they weren't in order, you could highlight the entire, that is the point of this. We're filtering out numbers, so it would be really easy to just go, okay, we want the 1, 2, and 3, but if they're not in order, that is where these formulas come in handy. So we're going to highlight the entire range. We want the average of this entire range, comma, and the criteria range 1 is the same exact thing. So we're checking this same range against the criterion. Okay? Criterion 1 is that, let's see, so criterion 1, we put our double quotes, and you can't really see what I'm typing there behind this box, but okay, so criterion range 1 is going to be that it is greater than, let's say, or equal to 0. So greater than or equal to 0, close your quotes. Criteria range 2, we're checking the same exact range here, except this time we're going to say less than or equal to 3. Close quotes, or close parentheses, excuse me. Press enter, and we get our 2. So just to walk through how that is working again, we are saying this is the range of cells that we want the average for. We are checking that same range of cells, and we are only including things that are greater than or equal to 0. And then we'll check that same range of cells again, and only include things that are less than or equal to 3. So that narrows it down to these 3 numbers, and the average is 2. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. If there's something I can do to make these videos easier to understand or improve them in some way, let me know in the comments.